Right. So thank you for joining today for the Educator's Guide to Design Thinking with Liz Gallo from Ymaker. Liz is the founder and CEO of Ymaker, as well as an educator, innovator, and visionary leader dedicated to shaping dynamic educational experiences for teachers and their students. Thank you for attending the webinar with the New York State Network for Youth Success. At the network, we work to increase access to high quality after school, summer, and other expanded learning opportunities. We are one of 50 state after school networks working in conjunction with the National After School Alliance to improve systems of support for after school programs. We are the state lead for the National After School Association, working to improve both program and job quality for professionals in the after school workforce. And we are the state lead for the National Girls Collaborative Project, working to increase equity in STEAM programming. Our goal for hosting STEAM skilled webinars is to showcase the quality STEAM curriculum and resources being conducted in New York State, share these resources with New York State educators in the community, and connect educators and STEAM professionals with each other to enhance the STEAM community in New York. Thank you again for joining today. And if you have any questions or other topics that you want to see, please let us know in the survey that we'll share at the end. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Liz to get started. Thank you so much, and we
Thank
will get
you.
going.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you. I am so excited to be here today. You gave a beautiful introduction, and it's pretty powerful what your organization is doing in New York State and abroad, and being a leader across the country. So, thank you for doing that. So today we are going to talk about design thinking in education, and what that means for you, for your programs, for students, and kind of sort of how we got here as well. So, uh, design thinking is a problem solving process that focuses on the wants and needs of people who will be interacting with a solution. It's a pedagogy that lays the framework for student learning. And we use this step by step process that combines a human centered design approach and an engineering design approach. Our version has 7 steps. And in theory, the process is recursive. It goes round and round and round. So the way we use design thinking in our classrooms is it's a framework. It's how we set up student learning. So we use design thinking to give students context and a process for their learning. So we help students develop a strategy for solving problems so they can become lifelong learners. When I first learned about design thinking, I was in my undergraduate program. And from the moment it clicked to me what design thinking was, I was like, oh, this is how we should be teaching all of our children, because it really gives kids those skills that we need and want for them to solve
Jesus.
problems and be lifelong learners. So students are discovering, they're empathizing, they're brainstorming, planning, prototyping, evaluating, redesigning, and sharing. So all of those higher order thinking skills they are doing in this process. As I mentioned, our process that we use combines the engineering design process and a human-centered design process. The engineering design process is designed for engineers who are really technical and are doing the things to just get it to work. So they're identifying, researching the needs of the problem, developing possible solutions, doing like a data analysis to determine the best possible solution, constructing a prototype, testing and evaluating, communicating and redesigning. So it's very technical what they're doing. They're really thinking about the engineering and the mathematic component. And is really strict and really rigorous. Doesn't really talk about the people in this process. A human-centered design thinking process is very human-centric. We're empathizing and defining and ideating, and all of these words that really don't have a ton of structure or context. And as a teacher, I know makes it really difficult to implement in a classroom. So what we did was we combined both of these so that we would take the human-centered approach and give it some more structure and context that our classrooms need that work for classrooms and can be flexible for all different types of classrooms as well. So design thinking is not an activity. It is not a project. It is its own thing, but it falls under this umbrella of project-based learning. The more I get into this work about project-based learning, performance-based learning, design thinking, inquiry-based, and all these different approaches and pedagogies to teaching, I recognize that project-based learning is like the big umbrella up top, and all of these other things are underneath it. So design thinking is one strand under project-based learning, and inquiry based and scientific method and the writing process, they all fall under the umbrella as well. So, in an activity, we're all doing the same thing. We're all, in my mind, I think of it like an activity is we're all doing the same craft. We're all making the same turkey by tracing our hand on the plate. And everyone's the same. They might use a couple different colors, right, to make theirs a little different. I think of a project as a traditional science fair where every kid has the trifold board. They've all done the same exact thing. Maybe their experiment is a little different, but they all followed the same process. Where design thinking is really open ended. We're all trying to solve kind of a similar problem or a similar context. We have a really different ways of getting there. And we've developed really different solutions as well. So, in a classroom, what does design thinking look like? Design thinking can be used for many different things in a classroom. It can be used to have students work with people to identify a problem, to extrapolate a problem from a situation, to help students apply knowledge to real world problems, to help students show what they know, to get them to be creative and come up with innovative solutions, to develop business ideas or entrepreneurship skills, to do exploratory projects, to learn about cultures and people, to work collaboratively, to help in the community, and to develop those professional and workplace essential skills. Design thinking can be used for all of these things. So, kind of whatever you're passionate about, design thinking can be used to do that because it's the framework that we're setting all of our student learning on top of. So, some examples of design thinking project ideas that we've heard about that some of our teachers that we work with have done. Research and code a robot that emulates or takes inspiration from an animal in nature or nature itself. I'll show you how this came to life in a little bit. Another really easy one that I was thinking about as I was building this presentation, magnets are a really big part of science for some of our middle school students and learning how magnets work. So you could simply task kids with designing a solution to a problem that uses magnets and let them identify a problem and then think about how magnets could be used as a solution. It could be like propping a door open, or I had a friend who was trying to design magnets to like hold skirts together so skirts wouldn't like fly up or something. It was an interesting problem she was trying to solve. You can, another great CTE more program project that we've seen. A new building that's being built in your local community needs to lay out its networking for its internet and Wi-Fi. Students will develop a usage plan for its building users, plan out the point-to-point multi-station, right, point-to-multi-station locations of the Wi-Fi routers, and present a report of their solution. So students are actually thinking about, okay, where in this building are these workers going to sit? Where is there going to be a high demand for Wi-Fi? Where do we need to plug in hardwired devices? And then where's the internet coming into the building and how do we distribute that out throughout the building so that everyone gets what they need? Um, and kids would have to, in their networking class, would have to build out this whole solution. And this particular teacher actually got the blueprint plans of a building that was being built and had the students work off of those plans, which I thought was just such a great empathy building community connection for them. And then another one that lots of people do a variation of, design and build a musical instrument using electronics components for a teaching session with first graders. Interview the first graders to learn more about what they are interested in, then research unique instruments that currently exist, and brainstorm, design, build, and test the instrument for your first grade friend. So this um, really helps, build some cultural awareness, helps build our teaching skills, builds that empathy and that compassion for doing some really great lessons here with kids. All right. Teachers always talk to us about how they struggle with how to think about a design thinking project. And really, to come up with a next project idea, there's kind of three steps you take. First, we think about our curriculum goals. What do we need our students to learn? Where's the end goal here? Then we identify an opportunity to fabricate a challenge. Now I'm making up something, right? So the magnets. My students need to learn about magnets, right? That is part of what they need to learn. That's a curriculum goal. That's a standard. That's going to be on their state tests. Okay, now what things use magnets? Lots of things. The door that I'm sitting next to uses a magnet to lock shut. Refrigerator uses a magnet. My laptop charger uses a magnet. There's lots of different places that there are magnets. Maybe I just challenge kids to find more problems, to figure out solutions that would use magnets. So I'm fabricating this challenge. Even with the first graders, right? I'm fabricating the challenge about building a musical instrument for them. That's something I made up, but it is a real thing that kids will get excited about. And then the third step is think about what skills and tools and content you want students to master. So maybe with the music project, maybe I want them to master GarageBand. And, my challenge could be design and create a song using GarageBand for first graders to help them learn something. Now I have a design challenge that's connected to I need my kids to learn GarageBand. A curriculum goal is for them to design a song. And I fabricated this challenge for first graders that's authentic and real and helpful to those people, first graders and their teachers. So we're creating these situations for kids. And I want you to think about why someone could benefit from what your students are learning. So my students are learning GarageBand. Who can benefit from that? Right? There is someone that can benefit from that. Magnets. My students are learning about magnets. How can someone benefit from that? My students are learning about robotics and biomimicry. How can people benefit from that? How can animals benefit from that? How can the planet benefit? So you're going to identify a situation for students without giving a very specific problem or solution. I could have said students will design a 1 minute song in GarageBand that teaches first grade students about adding to 10, right? And the song has to be the same as Mary Had a Little Lamb, like that same beat. I'm so musically challenged, so apologize for my lack of musical knowledge. That's really just telling the kids what to do, right? Like you're basically giving them the instructions and then it's an activity or it's a project. We want to give them more broad range to work in, but with really specific guidelines because we want to think about what we want our students to be able to do and work backwards from there, right? I need my students to build in GarageBand. Maybe I tell them they have to use then the specifications and constraints. So maybe I tell them they have to use four different instruments in GarageBand, and your song has to be more than 2 minutes long, but less than 5 minutes long. You have to talk to the first graders to see what they're learning and their teachers, see where they're struggling. So we give them the specifications and constraints to keep everyone on the same track because these projects could be massive, right? If I say go and design a solution using magnets for whoever, it's uh, it's so wide. How do we narrow that in? We can say solve a problem in our school. You can only use four magnets. You have to be able to touch it. You have to reach it. Um, we can narrow it down. It has to be done in 3 days, right? You can only use these other materials. We limit their scope, but we still give them range to go to create whatever they want. Because the real world has specifications and constraints that make it interesting. Okay, so in your class, you're going to start brainstorming some ideas you have for design thinking projects that include empathy, content, workplace essential skills, and this opportunity for students to design and create their own solution to a problem. We're not going to go to breakout rooms today because we don't have enough time, but that is okay. All right. So during a design thinking project, students are starting in the discovery phase. They're discovering the solution. They're discovering the problem. I'm sorry. So they're identifying the problem and they're connecting to the content. So maybe in my magnet example, they're walking around and finding things that are magnetic, finding metals that attract a magnet. Maybe they're pointing out where there are some magnets. They're connecting to this content. Hey, magnets are really helpful for us. And they're empathizing. They're understanding the people they're doing research. So now they're walking around with their like investigation eyes on, right? Where is there a problem? Where is someone having a problem that we could create a solution for? And maybe they do research. Where do we use magnets in the real world outside of school? How are we using magnets to help us? And then they're going to brainstorm lots of possible solutions. They're going to get super creative. They're going to come up with tons of ideas. Brainstorming is the best part of this whole process. Then they're going to plan. They're going to choose one solution and move forward with only one solution. We're only doing one thing, and everyone in the group needs to be on board with that. They're going to learn any tools that they need to learn. They're going to plan out the details and check for understanding. Next, they're going to prototype. So they're going to build that solution. They're going to try it out and refine as needed. They're going to check the solution and evaluate the success. Does it work? Does it work every time? Do the people like it? Does it helpful for them? And then they're going to offer out ideas for improvement and share out their solution. This is a recursive process. So after they evaluate the success, if they realize that something's off about it, in reality, they would redesign it to make it different. But in our classrooms, and in my classroom, after about 2 to 3 weeks of a project, I'm done. I don't want to do anymore. We have to move on. We have something else to talk about, and I'm done talking about this. I'm over it. So we need to move on. And in order to have kids feel like they're redesigning, we have them offer their ideas for improvement. We say things like, what would you do differently next time if you had more time, if you had more resources? How would you improve? And while they're not actually going to get the chance to redesign, just that thinking about it is incredibly helpful. That reflection is where we do a lot of our learning. And I think in our education system, we don't give enough time for reflection. So here is a project plan for our robot design challenge. Research and code a robot that emulates or takes inspiration from an animal in nature or nature itself. So we would start by having students research biomimicry, discuss what animals do and why. We'd have students identify an animal to emulate. So they want to emulate a shark or a bird or a snake or a bug. What do they want to emulate? Then we're going to teach them the coding techniques that are necessary. We're going to do direct instruction. We're going to do modeling. We're going to do demonstration. We're going to do practice activities. Students are then going to plan their pseudocode algorithm. So pseudocode is like the English language version of the code. Then students are going to code their robot and build the scene if needed. So I'm imagining the pipes are clogged and we need to send a robot to see where the clog is. Maybe students build a tunnel that looks like a pipe and build their robot to go through it. Maybe they add some features to their robot. And then students are going to present their robot and discuss the biomimicry that that robot is doing. So we have created a book, which is amazing for educators to use in order to practice and build these projects. So I just dropped the link in the Zoom chat. You can go there and grab the Educator's Guide to Design Thinking. This is a hands-on playbook where you write in it, where you write all the ideas of what you're going to do. You plan out your whole project in the playbook so that you're ready to go. And it walks you through the whole thing. So a typical design thinking framework for your classroom, for your lessons, is a multi-day experience. There are shorter versions. You could do this in a class period. You could also just do portions of this. You don't have to do the whole thing. But this is ultimately what it looks like. So on the first day, we're identifying the problem, we're learning about the constraints, and we're doing research as needed. We might be spending some time learning technical skills here. This wouldn't necessarily be the whole class period. So we might be coding, we might be exploring magnets, we might be thinking about multi-point Wi-Fi systems. And then the second day, we're doing empathy research, we're interviewing, we're reading case studies, we're doing observation, we're looking at the plans of the building, and we're practicing our technical skills as well. And on day 3, we're brainstorming. So we've done our research. Now we're brainstorming ideas of how we can get this solution to happen. And we're still practicing our technical skills. Then we are choosing an idea. How many ideas are we choosing? One. Only one idea, kiddos. We're only doing one idea. And we're going to plan our solution. So we might be drawing a sketch. We might be modeling it out of paper. We might be like testing a little like pieces of it. And we're going to continue to prepare our sketch using our plan using our technical skills. This also is the right place to stop and check in with students. Do they know what's happening? Does their plan allow them to be successful? Then you are going to let students build the solution. This could take anywhere from 5 to 7 days, through 9 days. It could be 1 day, depending on what you are asking your students to do. And then they're going to test and refine. And yeah, I know middle school kids, they will change one thing, test it, change one thing, test it, change one thing, test it, change one thing, test it. Totally fine. It's totally normal. And we love to encourage them to do that because we're constantly trying to build and make it better and better and better. That's exactly what we want. And then our last day, when I'm like, I'm done, this project's over, we're done, is for them to reflect and share. So reflect on what they learned, and we're assessing their technical skills. Did they learn how magnets work? Do they get it? Do they know how to build those systems? Do they know how to do that math? So we are assessing their technical content skills. So our assessment, speaking of assessment, we want to ask ourselves as educators, what are the learning targets? How will students show mastery of those learning targets? Is the final product the most important part, or is a portion of the product the most important part? With the magnet example, does the solution really matter what kids do? Or does it matter that they know how magnets work? And if they know how magnets work, is it also important that they interview and practice those essential workplace skills? What is the most important part of this project? How does it meet your learning targets and goals? Do you need your students to document their thinking? Yes. How are you going to have them do that? And how does the learning tie into technical assessments? What technical skills are students working on? What professional skills are students working on? And is collaboration and group work important here, right? Those are the questions that we are asking um, through this project. So, why design thinking? There's lots of reasons students care about design thinking, and they're the same reasons that teachers care about. We just use different language to describe it. So students love autonomy. I do it by myself. I can do it by myself. And we love that. As a teacher, we call that active learning. They are active in their learning process, and that's something that we want to encourage. Children are naturally curious. And when they're asking questions and wondering, hey, I wonder where we could use a magnet, that is critical thinking. Students, especially our like upper elementary, middle school, and definitely our high school students, they want that independence. I'm going to do it by myself. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. And we call that grit. When they are doing it independently by themselves, that's grit. I don't know about you, but some of my students love to chat. They're chatty, 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 always chatting. They love to socialize, and socializing is a huge part of learning. And this is collaboration. This is what we want to see our students do. We want them to be talking. And when they're talking about the work, it's collaborating, socializing. Students love to help each other, help others. Middle school students in particular are very engaged in wanting to help others. It's a huge part of their development. And this is really them developing empathy. And as educators, we want to continue to encourage that. We want to continue for them to develop empathy. Students will tell you they love to solve problems, and they do. They love challenges. Their brains are growing. They need challenges to solve. And this is really just authentic problem solving. In my tech classes and my STEM classes, I'd always say, why do you love my class so much? And they'd go, because we love to make stuff, Miss Gallo. And really, that's great. This is gross and fine motor skill development. A lot of our students' fine motor skills are lacking. They don't know how to cut, they don't know how to write, they don't have super fine motor skills. So we need to give them as much opportunity as possible to do that. And that doesn't stop with our preschool kids. That continues through seventh grade. We have lots of opportunity to continue to develop their fine motor skills. And then as they get older, developing their gross motor skills is important as well. Have you ever watched little kids play soccer and their legs and arms are just flailing about? And then as they get older, they have more body control. That is what we're developing when they're making stuff. And then their confidence. They just want to be confident. Every kid wants to be confident. And that's really authentic assessment. They're confident in what they did, knowing that they did it right, that they're proud of their work. They tried really hard to get it done. I couldn't ask for more in the classroom. I want my kids to feel so confident that they continue to try. So that's why we do design thinking. That is all I have for you today. I am so grateful that you joined us and learned all about design thinking. I hope you check out our book to help guide you along the way. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out to us. We're at YMaker. You can email me, it's on the screen, or you check out our website and get in touch with us there. We have lots of cool stuff coming up. So please, please stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Liz.